This is Charlie Kay with Travel Mall Media in Durban, South Africa at a trade show called Indaba. I'm with Beks Ndlovu, who is Group CEO with African Bush Camps. Good morning.
How you doing, Charles?
Excellent. What is the experience a visitor to your bush camps? What are they going to get, experience, see?
So that is a good question, because often when people are marketing establishment, they talk about their camps and this is what we're selling, this is the kind of accommodation, but actually our punchline is that we sell experiences, and so we are an experiential travel company as opposed to a company that runs bush camps necessarily. We always joke and say that, because we're selling these experiences, it so happens that people need a place to stay, so we've developed the camps alongside of that, right?
Right.
So the whole emphasis really is selling more the experience of being on safari, which is offering some of the best naturalists in Africa. That's actually my background. So I'm a professional guide. I still guide a number of trips a year, and I really have an affinity for guides that are very passionate about the environment, and guides that are basically teachers of nature. And so that's really sort of the main thrust of our product, is experiential travel. So lots of walking safaris, canoeing safaris, and not just sticking to vehicles on game drives as you could do anywhere in Africa.
And this is in Zimbabwe?
This is in Zimbabwe and in Botswana.
In Botswana.
Yeah.
And sticking to the Zimbabwe one, how far is that from which major city, or from South Africa?
So people going into Zimbabwe would fly either into Victoria Falls. That's obviously a very common hub because of the falls. But people also fly into Harare and into Bulawayo. Those are the three main hubs. From Victoria Falls, we also run a charter company so that we can feed the rest of the country. So we run a
air charter
company. We also do road transfers. So for example, Wangi National Park, where we've got two of our camps, that's a 45-minute flight from Vic Falls, but you can also drive by road. It's a 2-hour drive to the entrance of the park, and another hour and a half to 2 hours into the camp. Very good roads, and as I say, out of the 3.5 to 4 hours, half of it is driving through the park anyway.
Very good roads. That means it's not backbreaking.
It's not backbreaking.
Okay, so you arrive at the camp refreshed and ready for what would be a typical day. You would arrive generally what time? In the afternoon?
So people normally arrive around about lunchtime from their last camp, or if they're coming from a hotel, just so that people can fit in an activity in the morning wherever they come from. But generally people arrive around about midday, and then they have a couple of hours to settle in before going out on a drive in the afternoon to sort of orientate themselves around the park and introduce them to the area. And then in the evening, typically you end up with a sundowner drink somewhere at some waterhole, and then a little night drive back to the camp. But that's kind of almost the typical model, but we are very flexible. So if guests arrive in camp and we know there's a part of lion devouring a zebra around the corner, they arrive, we drop the bags off, and we go straight there.
Of course.
So whatever nature around us dictates, we kind of follow that.
And I suppose then you adapt the program to the level of harshness or adventure that that your guests wishes, and whether they're family or seniors or sofa couchers.
That's right. So that's why I say we're very flexible. It all depends on the guest needs. Family travel is becoming quite a big thing for us. So we've actually developed camps that focus on family travel, where we've got these double tents with their own separate bathroom facilities, and we have no age restrictions in those camps. And we're not just saying, kids are allowed to come, and then when they're there, we treat them like grown-ups. We effectively do child programs, so little nature walks around the camp, teach them how to track, and teach them sort of bushcraft, as it were, over the period of their stay. And quite often these programs are designed for the kids, but you won't believe how many parents actually join those programs. And as a family, it's a great experience to be had.
All grandparents.
All grandparents.
I presume they're flipping for the bill and joining the party as well.
That's right. We call them family safaris, but actually what we've noticed is we're getting more and more these multi-generational safaris. So you'll have the grandparents, their kids, and the grandchildren. And our camps are designed in such a way that at any one time you won't be with more than 12 people. So quite often a big family or two families traveling together would have the whole camp exclusively to themselves. They don't have to book it out exclusively, but that's just the way it works out.
Describe the facilities, the camp, the tents.
So our signature basically is canvas, safari under canvas. So all our camps are in a tent, but it's not a little tent that you crawl in your hands and knees. It's not a small dome tent. It's a tent that's quite often people joke and say that it's bigger than their studio apartment in New York or in London. So a very spacious tent, but plumbed with flush toilets, obviously running water, proper beds, and
I must ask a stupid question. Wi-Fi?
so there's a lot of pressure in industry to Wi-Fi the camps, and I will probably fight it for as long as I can.
Okay.
I have Wi-Fi in the camps.
But cellular access?
No, we're in such remote places that there is no cellular access.
Gotcha.
But you know, I do feel that there's an element of the fact that people every day are wired, and so getting people to have a complete sort of bush
Of course.
experience means that their mind is there and they're very involved in what we have to offer. And people come to Africa for different reasons. That some might be nature lovers, but I do believe there's also something about nature that helps you discover a lot more and learn about yourself and the natural surroundings. And to allow people to do that means getting them there mentally as well. Other people argue and say, well, actually there's maybe missed marketing opportunities because people want to get onto social platforms and post and boast and say this is where I am. I don't know. The world is changing, and there's no doubt that at some point we may succumb to it.
Yeah. The consumer will dictate it.
Will
won't it?
dictate, but for as long as we can, we'll resist having it.
How many different camps do you have in Zimbabwe versus Botswana?
So we have got 4 camps in Botswana and 4 in Zimbabwe.
And let's go to Botswana for a moment.
Sure.
Describe which airport they can arrive at, and then a typical program at one of the camps.
So Botswana really kind of is the main facet. I mean, it's got multiple facets, but people go there for the desert, for the delta, and for the Chobe area. So typically people will fly either into Maun or into Kasane. And most of our guests start their safari from Maun, and we have a camp just outside the delta, north of Moremi. And so that's very much of a water and land, a dry land-based activity camp. And then further up north, northern Botswana, we're on the Linyanti River in an area called the Chobe Enclave. And we run 2 camps there, permanent camps, and 1 seasonal camp.
If I
So we
contact
provide
you,
2 of those elements, and we partner with other partners if people want a true delta experience or a desert type experience.
so if I go to your website, look at this, and I contact you, and I say I have so much money, and I have about close to 2 weeks. I'd like to see some diverse, different offerings that Zimbabwe, Botswana has to offer. What would you recommend as a 2-week program?
So we actually have put out at the moment a private guided safari trip that encompasses the best of both countries. And literally people fly into Kwai and then across into the outskirts of the Okavango Delta for 2 nights, and they do the Chobe enclave for another 3 nights. Fly across to Vic Falls for 1 night, obviously experience the falls, everybody wants to see the falls, and then into Wangi National Park for 3 nights, and then into Mana Pools for another 4 nights. And we've got 2 camps up in Mana Pools offering the river experience and the inland experience. So the sum total of that gives you basically wetland experiences, it gives you dryland experiences, both quite extreme, and then the Zambezi River experience where you can combine canoeing and walking.
How much will that roughly cost for 2 people?
So you're looking, that trip comes out probably at about $5,000-6,000 per person.
And what are the differences in options of the kind of wildlife one can see at these different camps? How different are they?
So in the Kwai area, north of Moremi, because that's sort of part of the Delta, Okavango Delta system, you can expect to see a lot more water-based type antelopes. So like your letri, if you're fortunate, Sitatunga, lots of water buck. But Kwai is very unique in that there's a wetland experience to be had and there's a dryland experience to be had. So because of this combination, the variety there is quite diverse, to the extent that most of our guests that are going there, within a space of 2 days, pretty much will see leopard, lion, hyena, wild dog. I mean, that's 4 predators, and you have interactive experiences there. But it means also you can experience the Okavango Delta the way that the water bushmen used to experience the Delta by getting into these traditional dugout style canoes. So you do some of the channels and lagoon and quite a bit of birding. So if people are interested in birds, that's also a good opportunity for you to be able to see the diversity of birds.
One other example, please.
Well, because of the moisture, there's obviously a lot of insects, there's a lot of different foods for birds, so it's very attractive for the waders, all your water birds. So you've got a lot of your ibises, you've got your African jacana, which is like a lily trotter with long fingers and walks on top of the lily pads.
How about the giraffes, the rhinos, the elephants?
So you have the opportunity to see all the big stuff. As you might have heard, the Rhinos Without Borders, there's different programs where conservationists have come together to basically repopulate the country with rhino. So Botswana will give you the Big 5 experience.
Beks, what's the website address for your company?
It's www.africanbushcamps.com.
Thank you so much. Sounds like a wonderful experience, and you being previously a guide, I assume, I'll let you confirm that you're very sensitive to giving back to the community and fair pay to your staff and guides.
Correct. The big driver for us now is just trying to make sure that we attract the right kind of clientele that makes decisions on where they go and where they spend their money based on the fact that they're spending it with a responsible operator who's giving back to conservation and communities. And conservation and communities are very much aligned. So you can't really achieve conservation without supporting communities. So we're very big believers in that, and we have our own foundation, African Bush Camps Foundation, that gives back to communities and focuses on conservation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.